So gonna go over a trader gap today I had on ES. Ended up taking a loss. It was like $300 loss, $350 I believe. So gonna do a breakdown of it. So this was obviously a little bit earlier in the day. So my barring all this information on the right here, but we're just gonna go based off what I saw this morning. So coming into the morning, we had a ton of draws of liquidity to the upside. We had previous day highs here. We had data highs from either CPI or PPI news data from last week. So we had a ton of highs here that we were taking out, and we were honestly very overextended. If we go over to NASDAQ as well, NASDAQ took out these data highs as well over here on the left, over here. So we saw NASDAQ took these highs out. It also took out these previous day highs as well. These were from Friday. So NASDAQ and ES didn't quite take out the data highs, but NASDAQ did. So I was taking it as probably going to see him move down. A big thing also was this overextension. So we see here we have a lot of bullish momentum, right? And we also, on the contrary, took out a lot of liquidity, right? It wasn't like we were just moving up and not taking out any draws of liquidity. We were taking out a lot of liquidity and a lot of high time frame draws of liquidity. So on the 4 hour, especially if we see, we just have this 4 hour candle that's, up to the moon, right? So I'm thinking short. There's the more bias than just we're overextended, right? We have a high time frame bearish order block located here. Obviously, we see this move up for the move down. So we have this high time frame bearish order block right here. And then we also have this high time frame bearish order block right here. So we have a couple high time frame bearish order blocks that we are within, that we've seen reactions out of already. So especially this one here, we had actually a really, really nice reaction out of this one whenever that was Friday, I believe. So we see obviously price tap right into it and get a pretty good move down. So I'm thinking we're already within these bearish order block areas. We're really overextended. We're getting a lot of liquidity to the upside. We're sweeping a lot of liquidity upside. Let's look for some moves down. So I scaled down to the 5 minute here. Obviously earlier within the day was fairly choppy on the 5 minute. I'm not gonna lie. We didn't really see any swift moves here obviously until PM session. Morning was fairly choppy. We did have a couple fair value gaps that I was looking at. This one being one of the main ones. The bottom of this being a pretty good target. And then also this fair value gap right here. This kind of happened right before market open, or it was market open, that we just ripped up. So we had a couple of fair value gaps here that I definitely thought were going to end up getting filled. So again, more bias to the downside. We have a ton of bullish fair value gaps that are going to get filled in. So you move down to the 1 minute time frame. Obviously fairly aggressive, looking for a short here. We see the macro opens, or the macro actually opened right here, but I ended up not really getting an entry over here. It was a little early. Would have probably entered on this candle open right here, which would have been a little bit more ideal, but that was obviously not the case. So we get a retracement back up in here. Basically, there was a few things we had here at the same time. We got a market structure shift to the downside. So this low right here, we got a complete closure. You could say this low. It actually was this low, actually not that low. So we had this market structure shift. We had an inverse fair value gap. So we had this bullish fair value gap that we left here. We got a complete closure below this. And then we also got a break of structure to the downside, market structure shift, whatever. So this was enough confluence for me to enter. Obviously, this was just a 1 to 2. So targeting $10, so till 649 right below here. And then I had $5 in the S&P, which was $300 for me. Actually, this was a little bit of a larger stop loss than I usually would have. And this was a trade I took, basically. So obviously this was actually a little bit more aggressive than this magnet's cooking me right now. But yeah, this was just about the trade I took, and yeah, I just got stopped out. It wasn't a bad trade. Obviously, like I said, we have a lot of high time frame imbalance that I wanted to get filled in. We had a lot of, obviously we see this very strong bullish candle down after we got a market structure shift, inverse fair value gap, and a breaker structure to the downside. After all these high time frame draws of liquidity up here got swept, so I'm thinking we're definitely going lower. And that, kind of was the case. Obviously, we were continuing to move down a little bit, and then obviously PM session ends up opening, and we're just ripping to the upside. So again, it wasn't a bad trade, I would have to say. Was it like the best, to say the least? Not really. But was it like a shitty trade, like I just wanted to enter? No, there was a lot of confluence. Like I said, the hourly, we were super overextended. 4 hour, really overextended. And more importantly, we were sweeping out a lot of highs, right? We had a lot of high time frame draws of liquidity that we were sweeping out, which was more of a stronger confluence than just saying we were overextended, right? It didn't really matter how overextended we are, but again, that was kind of the bias was short because of all the high time frame draws of liquidity that we were sweeping, data highs, session highs, and then we finally get this, pretty good setup, and it just didn't hit. So it is what it is. It was a tough trade, but that's part of the game you play. So it was a tough trade overall, but I'm not mad about it. Obviously, it was just how the markets moved. So it is what it is. Going to be going into tomorrow with some good hopes. Today, we didn't have a lot of news. We just had retail sales. Tomorrow, we don't have a lot either, from what I believe. Tomorrow, we just have building permits and whatnot, so not a lot. But Wednesday's a nightmare. Fed funds rate. Do not trade on Fed funds rate day. I get it's at 2, but it makes the market move like shit in the morning, and it's just all scary, basically. So that's it for the day. Took a loss. Peace.